5 years after going abroad, the 11-year-old daughter had become an internationally renowned prodigy in painting. No matter how complex the composition, she only needed one glance to capture its essence on canvas. Yet, there was one simple family portrait that, no matter how many people offered to buy it, the daughter refused to add facial features to the man in the painting. She feared that once she painted his face, she would be reminded of that man again. So when that man came knocking with East Sea pigments worth millions, asking the daughter to add the facial features, she simply shook her head calmly. "Uncle, I don't know how to paint." Stephen's eyes reddened as he took his daughter's hand and placed it on the easel. "That's impossible. Isn't Lily a genius painter? Haven't you always wanted the East Sea pigments? Dad has already bought them for you. From now on, whatever you wish for, just tell Dad, and he'll make it happen." Lily coldly withdrew her right hand. "No need, Uncle. I can now earn money myself to buy more expensive paints. You should take the paints back for your daughter." Stephen felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, pulling Lily into his arms. "Lily, what are you saying? You are my only daughter." Lily seemed a bit puzzled. "But didn't you say that only Aunt Bella's daughter deserves to be your child? Didn't you give the paints you promised me to Aunt Bella's daughter?" At this, Lily smiled indifferently. "It's okay, Uncle. If you like Aunt Bella, then raise her daughter. I have my mother, and that's enough for me." Stephen's heart was filled with complexity. He had never imagined that the daughter who used to cling to him would now treat him with such coldness. What he didn't know was that my daughter and I had already given him countless chances. During the 5 years of our marriage, he had endless opportunities to confess his identity as the heir to the song group. Yet, he always chose silence. Even when our daughter wanted a set of watercolor paints costing just over $10, Stephen kept making excuses. "All right, but Dad doesn't have enough money right now. Once Dad earns some money, I'll buy you the most beautiful and expensive Donghai paints." Our daughter didn't know what the expensive Donghai paints were. She only knew that with those paints, she could draw her beloved dad in the best way. Thus, owning a set of Donghai paints became our daughter's obsession. For 5 years, I delivered takeout during the day and took my daughter to the market at night to set up a stall and paint. He watched coldly all along, 5 years of cold indifference. Every time we closed up shop and went home, my daughter would ask me with hopeful eyes, "Mom, have we earned enough to buy a can of Donghai paint yet? I want to paint a picture of Dad, making him the most handsome dad in the whole world." At moments like these, I would carefully sift through the loose change in my old bag once more, shaking my head helplessly. "Not quite yet, just a little more saving tomorrow, and soon we'll have enough." Finally, a month before my daughter's birthday, I counted a bag of coins and was thrilled to find we had enough to buy 3 grams of the cheapest Donghai paint. I couldn't wait to take my daughter to the smallest paint shop on the corner. But just as the clerk was rummaging through the paints for us, I caught sight of a familiar figure across the street in the grand, luxurious paint store. Stephen, dressed in a suit and tie, was holding a little girl in front of the VIP display case. The little girl smiled sweetly as she held up a jar of paint and kissed Stephen's cheek. The daughter in my arms instinctively wanted to rush over and hug Stephen. But I held her tightly, covering her eyes. Trembling, I pointed at the jar of paint they were looking at and asked the clerk, "How much is that jar of paint?" The clerk clicked his tongue and said, "I often see that man coming here with the little girl to order Donghai paint. This stuff is very precious, one jar costs 3 million. 3 million! In an instant, all the blood in my body seemed to freeze. Someone had indeed warned me that Stephen's identity was unusual. But looking at the leaky house and the shabby furniture, no matter what, I couldn't believe Stephen was wealthy. Thinking about it now, it really was tough for him. He was willing to endure 5 years in that rundown house. Seeing my silence, my daughter curiously pulled her hand free. "Mom, does Dad have a lot of money? Did he order that can of paint for me?" My daughter was still too young to understand the relationships of the people across from us. Looking at the faded short-sleeve shirt she was wearing, I opened my mouth but didn't know what to say. Sensing my discomfort, my daughter spoke up, "Mom, Dad seems a bit busy. How about we go home first? We can come back to buy it next time." Her voice grew softer and softer, and the disappointment on her little face was unmistakable. I held her close, heart aching, and returned home in a daze. Once home, I tentatively searched Stephen's name in the browser. In an instant, a flood of awards and honors overwhelmed the screen, as if to crush this already dilapidated rental apartment. The black and white documents and the ID photos on the certificates of honor, all of them proved his noble status to me. Even the most ordinary button on his suit was worth our 5 years' rent. Clearly, the information was something I could have found with a casual search, yet I believed him without a doubt for 5 years. Seeing the words Song Group Stephen on the computer screen suddenly struck me as somewhat laughable. "Stephen, when you looked at us going to the market stall every day from dawn till dusk, rain or shine, what was in your eyes? Was it pity, or mockery of our audacity?" Thinking this, I gave a self-mocking smile and dialed the divorce lawyer's number. After a long while, footsteps came from outside the door. Stephen had returned. As usual, our daughter ran eagerly to the door to greet him. However, Stephen, as always, ignored Lily. By rights, Lily should have long been accustomed to her father's indifference. But today, for some reason, she clung to Stephen's shirt, not letting him go. "Dad, can you buy me a can of paint? I have a painting exam next week, and the teacher said the first prize would get a little red flower. Lily wants to bring the little red flower back to you." "All right, I'll buy it for you once I earn some money," Stephen replied perfunctorily, not even lifting his eyelids. "When will that be?" Lily seemed unusually stubborn today, determined to get an answer. Stephen was taken aback, as if he hadn't expected Lily's uncharacteristic behavior. He frowned, hesitated for a long moment, then finally agreed. Lily hugged my leg excitedly, cheering. "Mom, I'm going to have paint soon. Then I'll paint lots of pictures for you and Dad." I was happy for my daughter too, looking forward to seeing her family portrait. But more than 10 days passed, and not only did Stephen fail to buy any East Sea pigments, he didn't even bring back the most ordinary paints. One morning, I saw my daughter hiding under the covers, quietly crying. Stephen saw it too, but didn't react at all. I ladled a bowl of chicken soup and brought it to my daughter. She had been frail since she was little, and now she was at the age of growing. No matter how poor we were, I couldn't let her health suffer. Seeing the chicken soup, Stephen's eyes lit up. "Put the soup in a thermos, I want to take it with me." Then, he quickly typed on his phone screen, "Tired of delicacies, huh? Today we'll eat some plain food." He didn't know that what he called plain food was a luxury I could only afford to buy for Lily once a month. Every meal, I would pick the minced meat out of my bowl and give it to Lily. But Lily always sensibly handed the minced meat to Stephen, saying, "Daddy, you've worked hard, have some meat." Every time Stephen ate the meat without a second thought, a happy smile would appear on Lily's face. She thought that by helping her dad, he would like her a little more. But she didn't know that her good father's heart belonged only to someone else's daughter. He didn't notice my silence and just kept typing on the screen, "Made her chicken soup, you and the daughter stay home and wait for me obediently." At that moment, I couldn't hold back any longer. A surge of grievance welled up in my heart. I grabbed the worn-out coin purse on the table and threw it at his head. Several coins clattered heavily to the floor, making a sharp sound. Just like me, a temper suppressed to the extreme but unable to utter a single word. My tears reacted faster than my emotions. Stephen was the one who got hit, but I was the one crying harder. After being hit, Stephen was originally angry. But when he saw my tears, his temper was instantly extinguished. "If you're not pretending, then why throw such a big tantrum?" I struggled to suppress the tremor in my voice and asked, "What about the paint you promised to buy for Lily?" Stephen seemed to have already forgotten about the paint. A flicker of embarrassment crossed his face, quickly masked by impatience. "I'll buy it. Do you have to nag me like I owe you money?" He said he would buy it. Over the past 5 years, he had said that countless times. But while a stone thrown into water still makes a splash, Stephen's words don't even stir a ripple. I walked into my daughter's room and gently held her in my arms. Lily, Dad doesn't like us. We can't stay in this home any longer. Would you be willing to go abroad with Mom? The idea of going overseas seemed too distant for Lily. But it was our best option. Only by going abroad could Lily's talent be better nurtured. I had one last savings left, just enough to buy a one-way ticket. My daughter's eyes dimmed, and she said anxiously, "But Mom, how could Dad not like us? He already promised to buy me paints. Lily doesn't need Donghai paints, Lily just wants the cheapest ones." Lily looked forward to that promised set of paints more than I did, but she also understood better than I did that, whether it was Donghai paints or not, those paints would never end up in her hands. Seeing my reddened eyes, my daughter threw herself into my arms and whispered, "Mom, can we give Dad one more chance? If by my birthday he still doesn't remember, then we'll leave." Okay. Stephen, this is the last chance Lily and I are giving you. Early Saturday morning, I looked at Lily in the back seat and felt a pang of heartache. I graduated from a prestigious university myself. But to have Stephen's child, I gave up a high-paying job. Every day I toil over housework and care for the child, completely cut off from society. Now, no company is willing to hire me. Helpless, I can only run errands delivering takeout. Other kids get to go to amusement parks on weekends. But my Lily can only accompany me delivering takeout. I sighed softly and handed Lily a lollipop, hoping to brighten her mood a little. I brought Lily to the villa area. Just as I rang the doorbell, a woman came out and took the spicy chicken from my hand. "You should leave quickly, don't let my husband find out." I looked up and saw that it was Bella who opened the door. Just as she was about to hide the spicy chicken behind her back, a pair of large hands pulled her into an embrace. "Bella, how many times have I told you? You have a stomach condition, you can't eat spicy food. This takeout isn't healthy, just throw it away." The moment Stephen's eyes met mine, his expression instantly darkened. But Bella was completely oblivious. "Don't be like that, Stephen. Look how cute her child is, and the delivery guy isn't having an easy time either. Just think of it as taking care of her life." Seeing me frozen in place, Bella added, "Don't mind it. My husband just cares about me too much, that's why he makes a fuss over small things. I'll tip you a few bucks later, so you can buy some food for the child." At this moment, the pity in Bella's eyes was like a sharp sword, piercing my heart. Hissed carelessly, the key scratched my finger, and blood instantly welled up. Seeing me bleed, Stephen frowned and instinctively reached to take my hand. Seeing this, Bella immediately clutched her abdomen and cried out in pain. "Stephen! My stomach hurts so much." Upon hearing this, Stephen quickly turned and held Bella in his arms. Bella leaned against Stephen, casting me a mocking smile. So, she had known who I was all along. In that instant, it felt as if a needle had been plunged into my heart, the pain making it hard to breathe. "Mom, are you okay?" Lily didn't understand what was happening and anxiously came close, gently helping me breathe. "Mom's fine." My heart softened, and I pulled Lily tightly into my embrace. Thankfully, I still had Lily. Stephen carried Bella into the room, and Lily still wanted to call him back. "Dad, Mom is hurt, you need to come see her." Stephen paused in his steps and turned around. But then, he just slammed the door shut heavily. Faintly, I could still hear Bella's voice. "Stephen, is that your daughter?" "I don't know her, must be a mistake." A mistake. So after 5 years of me and my daughter being by his side, all we got in the end was that it was a mistake. I gently stroked my daughter's head. "Did you hear that, Lily? That man isn't your dad, it was a mistake." In the evening, the paint store suddenly called me. They said there was a set of paints we needed to come and sign for. I hurried over with Lily, unable to wait. To welcome this set of paints, Lily even pulled out that precious princess dress. Although the dress had faded from washing, Lily still felt it was the best outfit she had to show off. "Hello, Uncle, We're here to pick up the paint. Seeing the staff look a bit puzzled, I repeated Stephen's name. The staff was momentarily stunned and said, Mr. Stephen's paint was just picked up. Didn't you know? Before I could react, Lily excitedly said, it must be a surprise Dad prepared for us. Maybe Dad is already at home waiting for us with the paint. I thought about it and agreed. Just as I was holding Lily and about to head home, I suddenly saw a familiar figure. Stephen, dressed in a tailored suit, was getting into the car holding a little girl. The little girl excitedly held up a can of East Sea paint, kissed Stephen's cheek, and shouted, "Thank you, Daddy Stephen, for the paint. Arya loves Daddy Stephen the most." Stephen, feeling gratified, hugged the girl tightly and said, "Daddy Stephen loves baby Arya the most too." I anxiously covered my daughter's eyes, unable to bear letting her see this scene. I didn't know how to tell her that what she longed for, others could easily have. My daughter seemed to sense something and cautiously asked me, "Mom, did Dad forget to buy the paint again?" "It's okay, Lily, you don't have to have the paint." My throat felt bitter as I held her tightly. The paint had already been purchased, it was just that the person who signed for it wasn't us. When we got home, Stephen had already changed back into that worn-out jacket. His appearance was a stark contrast to the refined and elegant man from just moments ago. I couldn't help but feel a bit self-mocking. He really went to great lengths to play along with us. Perhaps feeling guilty, Stephen was unusually gentle that night. He patiently washed Lily's feet and told her fairy tales. Lily was so surprised she didn't quite know how to react. Everything that night felt like a dream to her. Before Stephen left Lily's room, she carefully tugged at the corner of his coat. "Daddy, next Monday is my birthday. The teacher is throwing me a party. Can you come? I want to paint a family portrait for us then." Seeing Lily's cautious expression, Stephen felt a pang of unease. He gently rubbed her cheek and said, "All right, Daddy will definitely come then." With Stephen's promise, Lily happily drifted off to sleep. The next day, Lily was the first to arrive at kindergarten. She earnestly invited every child to her birthday party. "My dad is really handsome, and you'll get to see him then." Seeing the hopeful look on Lily's face, my heart fluttered with anxiety. "Stephen, you absolutely must come." With the tips given by the grandpas and grandmas around her while she painted at the market over the years, Lily bought a brand new princess dress. "Mom, this is my first time drawing on stage, so I have to dress properly. That way, Dad won't feel embarrassed." I kissed Lily's cheek tenderly and held her in my arms. On her birthday, Lily wore a brand new princess dress and put on the plastic crown she had been reluctant to wear. Happily, she stood with her teacher at the kindergarten gate, welcoming the arrival of the other children. Waiting and waiting, until all the children had arrived, Stephen still hadn't shown up. I called him countless times, and on the 33rd call, Stephen finally answered. Before I could say a word, Stephen's impatient voice came through. "Bella's kid has a drawing contest today. Don't call me anymore. But you promised Lily you'd come and draw a family portrait with her. She never learned, how could she possibly draw anything?" Upon hearing this, Lily's face instantly turned deathly pale. I nervously held her, but she seemed to grow up in that moment. Lily calmly took the phone from my hand and said, "It's okay, if you're busy, then don't come over. You don't need to buy me any more paint, and I won't ask you to draw a family portrait with me again." After saying this, Lily abruptly hung up the phone. On the other end, Stephen was shaken to his core and stood up, about to leave. Seeing this, Bella quickly grabbed his sleeve. "What's wrong, Stephen?" "Arya is about to go on stage." Stephen tremblingly unlocked his phone and instinctively called me back. But this time all that greeted him was a busy signal. Before blocking Stephen's number, I sent him one last message, "Stephen, we no longer need you." The next second, the once empty chat box was filled with messages. Seeing the messages, Stephen furrowed his brow slightly. "What are you all causing trouble about this time?" After sending his message, the only response he received was a red exclamation mark. No matter how angry I was before, I never blocked him. Stephen felt a vague unease in his heart. He stared at the screen, tapping the table repeatedly with his fingers. When Bella's daughter Arya went on stage, she accidentally knocked over a paint bucket. The sweet, innocent girl suddenly seemed inexplicably annoying to Stephen. Lily was never this clumsy. Thinking this, Stephen pinched the bridge of his nose irritably. He had never felt time drag so long, and only when the little girl on stage handed her painting to the judges did he finally breathe a sigh of relief. Arya ran up, wanting to leap into her daddy Stephen's arms. Just as she reached the bottom of the stairs, she saw Stephen hurriedly walking away, holding his suit jacket. Noticing her daughter's disappointed look, Bella glanced back. Stephen's figure had already disappeared. To get home quickly, Stephen ran several red lights. When he opened the door and saw the familiar pair of bunny slippers by the entrance, he breathed a sigh of relief. Everything inside the house was as usual. Lily's favorite doll was also placed on the sofa. The things in the house all bore traces of Stephen, more or less. Having made up his mind to leave and start anew, he decided to abandon everything from the past. So after celebrating their daughter's birthday, they headed straight to the airport. Looking at the familiar surroundings, Stephen felt much more at ease. He still thought, just like before, that Lily and I were simply out to clear our heads and cool off, and that we would come back. The man on the sofa picked up the doll and poked its head with his finger. "If you block me again the next time you're angry, I won't bother with you anymore." Stephen sat on the sofa, feeling a bit bored. He realized he had indeed gone a bit too far recently. He walked into the kitchen and started cooking, preparing a table full of dishes. But the food got cold, and Lily and I still hadn't come home. After reheating the dishes 3 times, Stephen finally sensed something was wrong. A strange unease crept over him, and after hesitating, he took out his phone to contact his assistant. "Check where the madam and the young miss are right now." Stephen felt restless, suddenly remembering that today was the day he promised his daughter to paint a family portrait. He hurriedly grabbed his car keys and headed to the kindergarten. "Hello, teacher, I'm here to find Lily." Seeing the man drenched in sweat, the kindergarten teacher looked puzzled. "Lily has already withdrawn from school, you know?" "Dropped out?" Stephen could hardly believe it. "Yeah, didn't you know, Lily's dad?" It was today, after celebrating her birthday at school, Lily said goodbye to her classmates one by one and then left. Stephen's body stiffened, a mix of embarrassment and awkwardness crossing his face. Yes, as a father, he didn't even know his daughter had dropped out. Maybe he was afraid to see the teacher's puzzled look again. After thanking her, Stephen left in a fluster. It turned out he did care about being seen as an incompetent father. But before he could even leave the kindergarten, the teacher caught up and stood in front of him. "Oh, by the way, Lily's dad, Lily still has some craft assignments she didn't take with her. I was planning to call you tomorrow to see if you wanted us to send them over. I heard you guys moved. Since you're here, why not take it back with you? It's nice to keep a memento. In the future, showing the kids things from their childhood will surely be heartwarming." The teacher saw Stephen silent, just standing there blankly. Although a bit puzzled by his behavior, she still went into the classroom to get Lily's things for him. By the time Stephen came to his senses, a cardboard box had already been placed in his hands. When he got back to the car and opened the box, his breath caught. It felt as if something was squeezing his heart, the pain unbearable. Inside were 3 porcelain dolls, a mother, a father, and a Lily. The family of 3 happily holding hands together. There was also a repaired family portrait pasted back together. Between the man in the suit and the 2 girls beside him was a crack sealed with tape. It was clearly just a painting. Yet Stephen felt as if he and I, and my daughter, were completely split apart. No matter how it was repaired, it could never go back to how it was. This was the first time in all these years that he felt regret. The daughter he had looked down on for never having learned to paint had actually done better than Arya by far. Stephen's hands trembled slightly. His eyes began to redden. His daughter had only wanted a bucket of paint. She had only wanted to paint a family portrait. He had already promised her. Why couldn't he keep that promise? Why pretend to be poor? Why? Stephen slammed his hands against the steering wheel, pouring out his sorrow. After a moment, he vowed to bring the very best the world had to offer to me and our daughter. He would make up for the mistakes he had made before. He would become a competent husband, a qualified father. From the assistant, Stephen learned that Lily and I had already left the city. He could only trace the flight purchase but had no clear idea of our exact destination. So Stephen had no choice but to watch the airport surveillance footage over and over again, trying to see which boarding gate we went through and at what time we left. This was the best way to narrow down the few cities we might have gone to. Finally, on the morning of the 8th day, Stephen spotted me and my daughter on the footage. In just 8 days, the once vibrant Stephen had turned into a scruffy, worn-out version of himself. To the naked eye, he seemed to have aged more than a decade. The familiar figures brightened Stephen's eyes considerably. Seeing his daughter quietly sitting on a bench, drawing, melted his heart. He rarely observed Lily with such focused attention. Watching his daughter, who bore an 8-part resemblance to himself, Stephen's eyes welled up. It was as if Lily, who once clung to his leg and said she loved her dad the most, was right there before him. Back then, the three of them had lived happily. He had even once felt the urge to be honest. Tell me and Lily his true identity. His friends all think I'm a good person, a very good wife. But Bella said softly, Stephen, I think you should still test her. Some people are masters of disguise, 10 or even 8 years is nothing to them. And just like that, Stephen dismissed the idea. His attitude toward Lily and me also changed a lot. It's laughable, at the time, my daughter and I thought he was just tired from working outside. It turned out it was all because of a single instigating word from his first love. The hard work Lily and I put into delivering takeout and running stalls to ease his burden was twisted into a disguise for greed over his wealth. Maybe even a lifetime of delivering takeout wouldn't pass this test. Stephen never believed me, nor did he believe our daughter. If he knew that Lily and I had discovered his true identity and that he chose to leave afterward, he would surely be very surprised. Originally, we should have been the kind of people who stayed for his money. Why do they know my identity? What did you do? Stephen pressed one hand to his forehead, his voice somewhat cold. The assistant, having never seen such a scene, hurriedly spoke up. We wouldn't dare reveal anything without your permission. It was when you and Miss Bella went to buy paint that Madame accidentally saw it. What paint? The Donghai paint. Stephen vaguely recalled the incident. It seemed to have been about a month ago. Upon learning that Lily and I had known his true identity a month ago, Stephen's face uncontrollably turned pale. No wonder Lily, who was unusually sensible and obedient back then, stubbornly insisted on him buying paint. After all, children always act spoiled and ask their parents for expensive things. Stephen was annoyed by the constant questioning and casually agreed. He turned around and forgot about it. Even if Stephen forgot, my Lily was still willing to give him another chance. But he missed the birthday party again. Stephen suddenly remembered the story he once told Lily about Zingzi killing a pig. But what use is regret now? Go and order all the Donghai paints from the store. Stephen's words made the assistant look troubled. You bought them all a month ago, and the latest batch won't be available for another 6 months. Then go get the things meant for Arya first, and tell them I'll compensate them later. Naturally, Bella, upon hearing the news, had no intention of returning the items. They've already left, and now they want to disgust me? Even if it means feeding my daughter's things to the dog, I would never give them away. Stephen got nothing from this. The assistant told him that Miss Arya had given away all the paint, not leaving a single can behind. Given away? Such expensive paint just given away like that? Stephen's brow furrowed slightly, his face darkening. Bella didn't dare provoke him, so she went up with her daughter to apologize. She even brought a few cans of cheap paint. Stephen, I'm sorry. I didn't know Arya would give everything away. Look, I brought some new paint, just make do for Lily. Stephen said nothing, silently taking the paint Bella had brought. Having grown up calling him a golden spoon, he had no idea this was the worst quality paint in terms of coloring effect. But thinking that Lily couldn't even afford something he looked down on made Stephen feel irritated. He casually picked up a brush and dipped it into the paint. Even the worst materials could be used to create something beautiful in his hands. Just like Lily's painting. Stephen had never taught Lily how to paint. Maybe it was genetics, or perhaps talent, but that painting was truly impressive. Bella watched Stephen painting with a hint of fascination. It wasn't until he put down the brush that she snapped back to reality. "Stephen, you paint really well." Stephen sneered. "Unlike your daughter, who uses high-end stuff but only produces trash. Completely lacking any skill." Bella stiffened at his words. Arya only learned to paint because she knew Lily loved it. She wanted Arya to outshine Lily in every way. Stephen's words were undoubtedly a slap in her face. Out of everyone's sight, Bella's hands were deeply clenched into fists. If Stephen had turned around, he would have seen a woman whose face was twisted with jealousy. After Lily and I left, Stephen no longer needed to pretend. Being wealthy was far superior to being a worker. Whenever he needed, countless people were willing to go through fire and water for him. He would use this identity to find Lily and me as quickly as possible. Stephen stared blankly at the crumpled note his daughter had drawn. "Where exactly are you? I know I was wrong, please come back soon." The assistant's sudden interruption shattered his memories. "Miss Bella and her daughter are waiting for you in the reception room. Send them away." Stephen didn't even look up as he left this command. But 10 minutes later, Bella and her daughter were in his office. Bella thought about it, and naturally, the assistant couldn't stop them. A single call of "Daddy Stephen" made Stephen, who was busy handling documents, look up. Arya was actually wearing the same style dress as Lily. Her hairstyle, her walk, everything was imitating Lily. "Daddy Stephen, let me sing 'Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star' for you." "Enough. Bella, do you think this is funny?" No matter how much she imitates, Arya is Arya, my daughter is my daughter. "Stop making me sick in front of me." Arya was so frightened by Stephen's expression that she burst into tears. "Get out." Bella also felt a bit wronged and spoke unwillingly. "Stephen, I just want you to be happier." Who would want their daughter to be mistaken for another woman? Stephen's forehead veins bulged. Looking at the sobbing mother and daughter, he didn't know where to vent his anger. He simply decided that out of sight, out of mind, and left the company. Stephen didn't know where to go. He returned to the home we once shared. As usual, Stephen did nothing. He sat blankly on the sofa, clutching Lily's favorite doll. After a short while, the company's legal department called. "Stephen, there's a discrepancy in the company's accounts." "You're telling me this? Did I hire you to do nothing but eat my salary?" The legal officer on the other end stammered, which only irritated Stephen more. "If there's something, just say it. This sum was transferred with your own signature, so." Stephen was momentarily stunned. He was transferred because of his signature? "It wasn't me, check it." One troublesome matter after another weighed heavily on Stephen, making it hard for him to breathe. The legal department was efficient as well. They quickly uncovered the fact that Bella had forged Stephen's signature to embezzle funds. With Stephen's capability, he could have easily turned a blind eye. It was only then that he truly understood who the real person coveting his money was. That so-called first love was nothing but a rotten person to the core. Miss Bella even bought a plane ticket, apparently planning to run off with the money. Stephen's anger twisted into a bitter laugh. Stephen's attitude frightened Bella. She realized this man's heart had already turned elsewhere. So she planned to take the money and leave. As long as she got abroad, she could live a good life, and no one could catch her. Just as she and Arya were about to board, a large group of police officers flooded into the waiting lounge. "Ms. Bai, there is a case of illegal embezzlement that requires your cooperation in our investigation. Please come with us." Stephen deliberately timed the police's arrival to arrest Bella, wanting her to feel the futility of chasing after something unattainable. As for Arya, after Bella was imprisoned, Stephen sent her to an orphanage in Southeast Asia. He couldn't stand the thought of this girl named Arya taking away everything that rightfully belonged to Lily. Every time he saw Arya, he was reminded of his own failure as a father. Stephen took out that crumpled painting once again. Gently stroking it, he murmured to himself, "I've driven away those who bullied you, so why haven't you come back? I really miss you both." Tears streamed down Stephen's face in heavy drops, soaking the paper. Unnoticed by him, the tears blurred the features of us in the painting. If regret could change anything, perhaps the world would be a better place. To completely break free from Stephen, 5 years ago I sought opportunities everywhere and finally landed in France. What does it matter if I was unfamiliar with the place? As long as I worked hard, everything would turn out well. When I first arrived in France, I could only wash dishes in a restaurant because I didn't speak the language. But at least it was enough to get by. It was also thanks to my daughter's talent that, while she was drawing outside the restaurant, we met a famous French painter. He was amazed by my daughter's gift and took her as his apprentice. In just 1 year, her paintings became priceless treasures. Our life gradually grew more prosperous. I wanted to have more topics to share with my daughter, to make up for the fatherly love she lacked. So I started learning to paint, with my daughter as my teacher. As my knowledge grew, I even opened a respectable art gallery. In the past few days, I noticed a man standing at the door. At first, I thought he was a homeless person. Sometimes, I would place some bread from the house outside the shop. But that man never moved. When I went out to take out the trash, I saw the wedding ring on the man's hand. I sighed helplessly and took the initiative to speak. "Stephen, what are you doing here?" The man wearing a mask stiffened. After hesitating for a moment, he took off the mask. Stephen looked a bit uneasy. Just as he was about to say hello, he heard a girl's voice behind him. "Mom, was work tiring today? My new painting won an award again. Our gallery has another great piece." Lily only glanced briefly at the stranger at the door before running into my arms. Seeing my daughter's expression, Stephen became somewhat emotional. Once upon a time, his daughter used to act this way with him, even though he never responded. As if recalling something, Stephen took out many cans of paint from the backpack he always carried. There were all kinds of colors. Stephen spoke in a hoarse voice. "Lily, I am your dad. I brought you your favorite paints." The daughter did not turn around. Tears welled up in her eyes. "I'm not Lily, you have the wrong person. I also don't have a dad. My dad died long ago." I had always worried that my daughter's mental health would suffer because of Stephen. After all, a little child cannot do without a father. But my daughter was stronger than I imagined, and she was living happily. The once fragile fatherly love could never mend that little girl. I knew Lily would be sad. But it was definitely not because of Stephen. She was simply grieving for the little Lily who never received a father's love. Stephen's face was a bit injured. "But what does that have to do with us?" My daughter pulled me into the gallery and shared the amusing things she encountered today. Only Stephen was left standing alone at the doorway. Just like that painting. There has always been an unbridgeable chasm between us. Another 5 years passed. My Lily had grown into a graceful young woman, renowned internationally. It was time for the annual awards ceremony again. Back then, my Lily was just a contestant below. Now she had become a competent presenter of the awards. My Lily has always worked hard. Even when she couldn't afford paint, she never gave up painting. Good paint makes good art. But Lily was different. She said that as long as there is love in the heart, the best creations can come from anything. The East Sea pigments she once couldn't afford now filled the entire studio. After the awards ceremony, the host quickly spoke up. "I wonder if Lily could paint a family portrait. After the family portrait is completed, we will donate 100 million in your name to impoverished areas." The daughter on stage smiled. "Sorry, I vowed long ago never to touch a family portrait again." 100 million is nothing, I don't need you. I'll donate it myself. The host noticed the slight displeasure on the daughter's face and didn't press further. In the audience, Stephen sat at the highest point of the auditorium, his eyes slightly red. The doctor said he was dying, unlikely to survive the winter. The family portrait, both my daughter and I understood. It was Stephen's request. After all, he was the biggest sponsor of this award ceremony. Stephen had hoped that his daughter would paint a picture in appreciation of the donation. Ever since Stephen found us, he frequently appeared before us, hoping his daughter would paint a family portrait. To fulfill the promise left unfinished back then. But what's missed is missed, there's no chance to do it again. When we were leaving, people from the Song family stopped us. Stephen calmly told us that he was dying. He took out the inheritance division and handed it to Lily. Dad doesn't have much to give you. This is all my property. You and your mother, life without me will still be very happy. Lily didn't answer, letting out a cold laugh. Is this another one of your tests? Neither Mom nor I want your money, nor do we care for it. Don't come looking for us again. Uncle. That word, uncle, made Stephen's breath catch. The inheritance transfer document in his hand slipped to the floor. On the winter solstice, that inheritance division was delivered again to the studio. Stephen's assistant said he was dying. He left the hospital address and then left. Lily picked up the hospital address, her shoulders trembling uncontrollably. She didn't understand what kind of feelings she truly had for the man who was her father. Mom, he's going to die. My throat tightened as I noticed a flicker of sadness in my daughter's eyes. Do you want to go see him? After all, he is your father. No, he's not my father. He doesn't love me, and I don't want to see him. My daughter has grown up and has her own thoughts. I will support her unconditionally, it's better not to see someone like that. Some things money can't buy. Some things guilt alone can't make up for. It's normal for my daughter to feel sad, after all, that was a living, breathing person. In the final moments of his life, Stephen still couldn't wait to see me and my daughter. In the last flicker of his life's memories, Stephen saw the little girl babbling her first words. And the wife who always made him pork rib soup in winter. If there's a next life, I will spend it making it up to you both. Stephen's inheritance ultimately ended up in the hands of me and my daughter. At Lily's request, we donated all the money to orphans without parents. This money should go to those who need it more. Let it, in another way, comfort the children who lack a father's and mother's love. I held Lily and looked out at the winter outside the window. Lily softly asked, Mom, what are you looking at? I smiled and gently touched her cheek, saying, Mom is watching the winter that is about to fade away.